Hello, TripleTen community. Welcome back to our live streams. We have 3 live streams in a row going from today until in 2 weeks, I guess that would be. And we're really excited to have some of our students on, and the next 2 are going to be focused around alumni who have got jobs in the program. So today we're going to be talking to Dacotah, who's about 7 months into the software engineering program. If anybody has any questions for him during this time, please feel free to comment them down below. We would love to hear any questions related today. And he's going to talk a little bit more about the software engineering program, how he felt getting into it, why he decided to switch, all those good things. So if you are joining us today, we would love to hear where you're joining from. So if you want to throw that in the chat, we would love to hear. And we will just give Dacotah a couple minutes to jump on here. All right. So we'll give them a couple minutes to join. Again, if you're joining, we would love to hear what city, state, country you're joining from today. Hopefully everyone's doing well. I see New Jersey. Very cool. Awesome. This is great timing. Hi, Dacotah. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm really glad that you could jump on today and have a quick chat with us about your TripleTen experience in the software engineering program.
Yes, love to be here.
Awesome. Well, why don't you start us off by introducing who you are, how you found TripleTen, and a little bit about that, and we'll get started there.
Yeah, so my name's Dacotah. I've been in the course, like Olivia said, for about 7 months now. I found it through an ad on YouTube and then going through TikTok as well, and just took the jump and started doing research, started talking to alumni, current students, and here we are, 7 months in.
Great stuff. And I know you're enjoying the program so far, but we'll definitely get into more of the logistics of that. So you have been a senior support engineer for a while though. So that was like your previous career / what you're doing now. And you've decided to transition more into coding. What was the tipping point that made you decide that it was time to step out of the support field and into actual software engineering?
Yeah, so I believe the tipping point was I just wanted to have a change of scenery. And kind of branch out. I went on a cruise, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later. But I went on a cruise and doing remote, and all the software engineering jobs that I've seen, or anybody that's done software engineering, they're always traveling. So I think that was a tipping point, was just having a change of scenery, being able to work remote and travel.
That's awesome. And tech is obviously the field to do that. I know tech jobs can really be flexible and more at your own pace too. And working hours, especially like if they're around the States or internationally, are a lot more flexible. So definitely the field to get into there. So you've been in obviously the software engineering program for about 7 months now. I've probably said that about 5. And you're in sprint 9, I think is what you said. What has surprised you most about this journey so far? And in terms of content or the learning process, how have you evolved during this process too?
I think the most thing that surprised me was just the retention to take in the information. Um, with the interactive platform, it's made it extremely easy. I'm a hands-on learner, so being able to not only read about it but also test the skills has been a definite way of evolving. So
That's so great to hear. Has there been anything that has really stood out to you during this time? I know you've had multiple one-on-ones with tutors. Do you have any specific moments from those sessions that really like and helped you unlock a concept or overcome a challenge?
yeah, there was actually a moment with Julian that I was working with, and he actually took over my computer through the Zoom and kind of explained the code, and we were getting some errors that we didn't really understand why we were getting them. And then after kind of explaining and working through everything, um, it was literally just one word that I had to change. So that was one of the easiest ones. But yeah, speaking on that, it's helped me grasp a lot more of the concepts, not only just like reading and doing it hands-on, but actually learning from a software engineer that can explain it better as well. So
Definitely. Having those tutors be in the actual fields while they're tutoring part-time too, I know is like really helpful because they stay up to date on all the best practices and they can like relate that to students as well. Um, that's very cool to hear. At the start of the program, were you someone too that you like immediately reached out to tutor support, or did you wait a while and then you were like, "Ooh, I'm really struggling. Like, I need to reach out now."
I was one that I had HTML, CSS background. Not really, I shouldn't say background, but knowledge that I could, build a simple website that didn't have any JavaScript or anything else beyond that. Once I got to the JavaScript part, that's where I knew I was going to have some issues. So I try to get everything as much as I can and then go to the tutors. Um, I also try the dedicated sprint channels. I'll go through the questions in there and just see exactly what other people are asking and see if the responses from the tutors in there is going to help me understand what's actually happening with mine. So
Definitely. Sounds like you're really proactive in doing that too. So for people that don't know like what this channel is that you're talking about or what Discord is, do you maybe want to explain it to somebody that like has no clue about like this extra support on the side of like what that channel is?
yeah, so basically Discord is just kind of like your Microsoft Teams or Slack, kind of just like a messaging platform. With the channels, there's one dedicated to each sprint where it is, if you're in sprint one, you have certain questions that are dedicated just to that sprint, and talking to tutors just on that sprint, and then so on with the other sprints. So,
Definitely. And then you can look back and see like if somebody has asked a similar question or something about the project, then you can be like, oh, this is their answer. I can
yeah.
use it in the next part. Very cool. As someone who is already in tech, obviously, like you're in senior support engineer, but not coding, but obviously you are in coding now because you're in TripleTen. How has your current role as a senior support engineer shaped the way that you approach these coding challenges in the course? And are there any skills from your support background that have been unexpectedly useful in this transition?
The main thing that helped me, shape the way I approach kind of any technology issue is understanding that Google and AI are your friend. That's mainly what I use throughout my daily job is just Google and AI. And then I think basically the skills that have helped me through the course is just having the ability and the understanding of computer systems already, to where, if something's not working right with my code, or even just the program, I kind of understand what I need to do rather than someone that may not be as tech savvy or, maybe scared to test something. Um, so I think that's the main skill from my support.
Definitely. I always like to see when students have like they're like they have previous jobs and then they jump into tech and then they're like, "Oh, I actually have these previous skills from this job that I used in the tech world," whether that be like from your resume or actual application base. So, very cool to hear that as well. So touching a little bit more on JavaScript, I know you said that you had gone over that with your tutor as well. But you also had mentioned like it has been particularly challenging for you, especially jumping into this and like you knew a little bit of HTML before. Can you dive into like why JavaScript is so challenging for you for especially people that like don't know what coding is and like what JavaScript is, and then how different strategies you've been using to kind of push through this part of the program?
Yeah. So like I said, with the HTML and CSS, it's kind of basic where you can actually see what's happening as you're changing stuff, where the JavaScript is kind of the background, what the buttons do, and everything else. So I knew when I got into it, it was going to be pretty difficult because of just kind of how the wording was in JavaScript versus HTML or CSS. Um, a couple of the strategies that I've used, like I said, the tutoring sessions, interactive platform, um, also buying coding books. I've also went to um, antique shops and I found like 4 or 5 coding books there. Um, and then also just using AI because it also explains, why you would do a certain thing. And that's kind of like I compare I don't always take AI's code and put it into mine, because most people are not going to learn that way. Um, so I kind of just I have multiple monitors, so I kind of just compare and contrast. I'll comment out a line and add in another line, um, and that's the main strategy of pushing through those difficult JavaScript.
Definitely. That was a really great explanation, like especially for someone like me who's obviously not in the coding world. So I think you explained that perfectly. Like that would be really difficult to kind of visualize as well. And I think that you're using AI in like a really positive way too. I think that's the purpose of AI, to kind of spitball it as your like assistant or like a friend, to be like, can you explain this to me a little bit more so I can understand this, and then compare and contrast. So if anybody is wondering like how ChatGPT or these AI programs are being used, that's like a really efficient way that you can use it in your studies, and obviously throughout your job too. So thanks for explaining that. That was like a really great explanation.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and on top of that,
yeah,
in some of the projects, you may see like an explanation of what you need to do for a certain part. I've taken that whole section that I had a question about and put it into AI with a couple of my codes and said, hey, how would I implement this, or how, and then kind of went from there and did that as well. So you can also do that with like ChatGPT or any AI pretty much. My main go-to is ChatGPT. So
definitely. It's like a secondary tutor, honestly, and that's
mm,
how I assume that they're supposed to be used. So I think that's a really great like helping mechanism, especially getting through like complex subjects. And if you're on a roll, you're like, I just need somebody to spitball off of, and ChatGPT is there to spitball off of. So I feel like that's awesome. So touching on like your life now that you're in this program, you're also working, you're balancing a full-time job with about 2 to 3 hours of studying every night. What does your daily routine look like, and how do you maintain that discipline to like stick to your schedule?
uh, yeah. So as far as being a support engineer and working from home, I have multiple monitors, so my eyes are just strained after work. So after the work day, I'll just take a break. I enjoy doing puzzles, so I'll just sit down, do puzzles, just take my eyes off a screen for, half hour, hour. Then I'll do another, um, go to the course, do it for about an hour, um, take another break, just to so your eyes aren't being strained the whole time, and just take multiple breaks, for your eyes. For the discipline, I've been working remote for the last 2 years or so, and this has helped me, stay disciplined to the course, and also making to-do lists. I have a whiteboard next to me, so it has, all my to-dos on it. And when I walk into the room, I'm like, oh yeah, that's one thing I have to do, and it's always, I'm always erasing stuff or writing more stuff. So that's another part of the discipline. Um, as far as the method to stay motivated, it is kind of looking at what what's going to come out in the end, and also talking to pretty much anybody about your projects or anything. I've had multiple times where I'm sitting here trying to figure out an issue, and my parents walk in, and I'm like, going through the whole code with them. They don't understand, but they're just sitting there listening, and then I've figured out the issue while I'm explaining to them. So uh, keeping that, um, motivation of, my parents are like, if it was, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. So that's kind of where that motivation stays. So
Totally. I think that's great advice. And it's like the rubber ducky technique. Like I know some software developers have a rubber duck at their desk, and they will sit there and they'll explain their
mm,
problem to the rubber duck, and they'll be like, okay, now I get it. So
yeah.
a similar thing with your parents being in the room. I feel like that's like a really helpful way to study and like understand as well. Um, so jumping, we're actually down to our last couple questions here. So if anybody has any questions for Dacotah while we're here, please feel free to pop them in the chat. We're happy to answer a couple near the end. But you had mentioned to me in our off-screen conversation that you're aiming for like a contract role, and this had related back to the beginning when you said you went on a cruise and you wanted to touch on this earlier. So You're also looking at potentially moving out of state temporarily, like once you're done TripleTen and possibly getting that contract role. What is it about the remote or contract work that appeals to you, and how does it fit into your vision for your career lifestyle over the next few years?
Yeah, so I think doing a contract job, whether it's 6 months or 12 months, this is going to be a new change, a new career and everything. So having like a 6 month or 12 months, basically like a tryout, making sure, hey, I'm going to know this and this, and I'm going to apply that to when I have a full time job, or maybe that contract job will turn into a full time job. So I think that's my motivation of going with a contract. And then also with remote, it's just the ability to work anywhere. Whether it's from your home or going on vacation, just go stay in a different state or a different city. Um, and like I said, with traveling, I've went to Jamaica and Haiti, and you know, got to just be out and and not have to worry about going into an office or having to go to a certain place to work. So
Definitely. And taking vacation time off, really fully embracing that digital nomad, which so many software engineers and even people in after TripleTen do, which is awesome. So our last question of the, well, I have two last questions actually. So second last question for you is, can you walk us through maybe one of your most memorable projects, the challenges you faced, how you've overcome them, what you took away from that experience, and how it shaped your learning moving forward?
yeah, so I would say the most memorable project would be the Sprint 9 or the Project 9 that I'm working on now. I actually just got it accepted, so I'm done with it. I do have to make a demo video for it. But just the fact within this one, we learned how it, interacts with servers and, pulling that information and saving it to the servers. And, with me being in the IT field already, I know servers and I know how they work. Um, but just learning how the code connects to them and pulls the information was, um, one of the memorable projects. But like I said, this is all JavaScript, so the challenges faced in it were kind of just basically setting up that API class to pull the information. Trying to start that, which I had a one-on-one tutoring session, and was able to kind of understand exactly what I needed to do there. Um, like I said before, overcoming any challenges with coding is going to be that AI and Google, and also just taking breaks. Like I'll sit, and sometimes I'll work for hours, and my parents come in, they'll be like, just take a break, just walk away from it, and then I'll come back and I'll figure out the issue. So um, that's one of the main things is just take breaks and just get your, just walk away, leave it for a little bit, and then come back. Um, my learning style, or my learning is, like I said, hands-on. So I can sit and I can watch a video or I can read something, but the fact that it's all interactive and you're reading or learning it and then also doing it at the same time throughout the lesson before you even get to the project, um, that compared with or added with multiple screens where I can compare and contrast different code and have web pages up everywhere, and then AI. So, um, like I said before, just adding that little line there or commenting out a line, and understanding what's actually happening. So,
Great answer. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. My last thing to end us out today is for anybody looking to switch from their current career into tech or jump into TripleTen, do you have any advice for them?
yeah. So, like I said before, I was very skeptical, like a lot of people. Um, After research, talking with alumni, talking with current students, it was all positive. So my advice would be to, go do some research, if you would like, and also just take the leap. Don't be afraid to make a change. I'm very afraid of change. So this was one thing that, you know, I was kind of held me back from it, because I get comfortable and I don't want to make any changes. But yeah, the just take the lead. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid to make a change. So.
Definitely. That's some good advice. I fully support that. And especially with do your research, because maybe college is a better opportunity for some people. Maybe they learn better with theory. I know lots of people learn better hands-on too. So jumping into more hands-on activities like TripleTen, like reading and then doing it is a lot better for some people too. So just whatever your path is and whatever learning journey you want to take, we're always in support of that. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dacotah. It was great to have you on and hear a little bit about your journey. We have 2 more live streams coming up. One is next week. We will announce it. And we're going to be talking to 2 TripleTen alumni about how they got into tech and how they got their job in tech after. So if people are interested, make sure you jump in. We'll be answering questions from the chat for that too. And that is all for today. So thank you so much, Dacotah. Any last words before we jump off?
No, I believe that that should be it. Like I said, just do your research. Don't be afraid to make a change. And with how TripleTen is set up, there's the community and everybody around that will help out. So it's a great time.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see everybody next time on our live stream. Awesome. Have a great night. Bye,
You
everyone.
too. Thank you.